This is Mel Thompson, and this is a podcast about political risk. And it is a podcast and a series of podcasts about that topic, which is political risk. A Russian government plan that's now in the works to basically give some degree of stability to the Russian economy, which is not very stable right now because of a recession, is going to cost a lot of money. We're talking in the area of $11 billion. And the overall problem with this is that the Russian government doesn't have that kind of money to spend. And when you start looking at any type of impact upon global markets when it comes to energy in particular, you have to include the Russians in this. Even though they have had problems many times in the past and have had them over a period of many years now, primarily since 2008, you still need to account for the fact that if their economy starts to go really down and there's no longer a way to prop it up, which is what they've been doing, it's going to have some degree of impact, particularly on markets in Europe. And I'm going to tell you how and why. My opinion is that the global markets are going to be able to absorb an impact if Russia's economy totally failed in many ways. And if you start looking at Europe as an isolated place, certain parts of Europe, particularly Eastern Europe, you will start to consider and understand that energy supplies to certain countries from Russia are very, very vital for the very existence of these countries as far as keeping the markets going, keeping the trains running, and basically keeping people's lights on. Once you start to consider that it is an $11 billion problem in a country that doesn't have that kind of money, that is actually engaged actively in a military buildup and adventures in other parts of Europe and the world, then you need to consider how they're going to, fix this problem. Russia is causing themselves a lot of grief. It's a self-inflicted wound. Foreign direct investors need to be very, very weary and leery, but particularly weary of trying to understand and accept this. You're weary because this has been going on for a long, long time. It's been a long time in coming. If it does happen, then you finally will no longer be weary. You'll be alert and you'll be awake and you'll understand that this was something that I was warned about from common sense. When you start looking at exports of energy products from Russia to European countries, you start looking at impacts, adverse impacts upon markets in those countries, particular countries. And those impacts will overall do some damage to the economy of those particular nations. And once you have that kind of problem, you're going to start talking about supply chain. You're going to start talking about transportation. You're going to start talking about banking and other areas of markets. It would possibly impact any potential foreign direct investment or a current foreign direct investment. It is a cycle that is going to possibly spin downhill from here if, in fact, the $11 billion the Russians are looking to pump into the economy doesn't appear somehow. How they get their hands on it, I don't know at this point because they're very, very much engaged in other parts of the world and in other projects that have nothing to do with keeping their people, shall we say, economically safe and secure. Once the Russian people are no longer economically safe and secure, people in Eastern Europe may not be also because the energy supplies may not be able to be delivered to those who are reliant upon Russian energy. And therefore, Russian energy that powers the plants, powers the cars, powers every possible aspect of a foreign direct investor's project in these countries may be impacted adversely. And that's where the major political risk is. $11 billion and no power to the project you put a lot of money into. This has been Mel Thompson.